Happy Saturday, one and all. It's me, Geordie Pete, running on Hollywood Balls for TFA. Can't believe it's Soccer Saturday time again. What a show we've got to you. So welcome to Soccer Saturday. The day's finally arrived. The stage is set. Old Trafford awaits. He's back in the team. Joe Linton starts for Newcastle. What a time to be alive. Okay, afternoon everyone, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to our TFA community. Welcome to YouTube, Facebook, and our LinkedIn crowd today. Welcome to you all. Now, before we meet today's very special guest, here's a look at what's coming up. Today's big game focus with Super Kev is Leeds-Liverpool. Quite a tasty tie, that one. We look at the Ronaldo effect. Exactly what else he's going to bring to Man United. We'll be talking to our very own George, who is a businessman in the football world, so he'll be shedding some light on that for us. Can Arsenal silence their critics? No guessing where I'm going for that one. Up to Super Kev, and then back to George, because we're going to be talking about Dele Alli and the fact of how he's galvanised his beloved Tottenham Hotspur. And, of course, we've got our Baller of the Week. We've got our hot predictions with a brand new champion in town. And if that's not enough, it's a massive welcome to my first guest. Europe's leading motivational speakers. He's built a formidable reputation as a passionate, captivating presenter. He delivers cutting-edge material in his own unique style. He's making a Hollywood Balls debut. It's Geordie Steve Black. How are you, Steve?
I'm fantastic, thank you.
Honestly, I could have got on with that, but we've only got 40 minutes. My literal introduction was about a quarter of an hour. Also, let me just add to that Kevin Keegan called him the most inspirational man he ever met. And to come from the great man himself, it is quite something. Steve, got to go way back, though, memory lane. A fascinating story, if ever there was one. It's just incredible. Yeah. I love doing the research for it. But you started out as a doorman in a place we both know well, in the Toon.
The Toon, I did.
Were they nice bars that you were a doorman of?
Oh, of course. Only the most tasty quality bars. You probably remember them, Pete. I remember the first place I started in Newcastle was a place called the Playground. Can you remember it on Westgate
I can,
Road?
yes, indeed, yes.
In the Playground on Westgate Road, and Billy Botto's on bike, down at Biker there, in the Eldon in Newcastle, and all honest lads, all manner of different places.
And characters. I bet characters that you met along the way.
School. I actually started doing that, believe it or not. I had been training at Kilnwood Sports Centre in Newcastle, and when I was training, a friend of mine were banging away in the gym, hitting punch bags, and we're doing bits of judo and this, that, and the other. And a fella said, "Excuse me, lads, and by the way, I think I looked older then than I do now." So he said, "Would you lads like a little part-time job?" And I went, "What's that?" And said, "Well, I run the playground." And I'm thinking playground, and I have a clue what it was, And I thought, am I looking after some kids here or something? And he says, "No," he says, "it's a new nightclub in Newcastle." He says, "We've had a bit of trouble there in the past." He said, "And I've been watching your training the last few times I've been in." He says, "Would you like to come and look after it?" He says, "So, hey, by the way, we're 15. I was 15 going on about 37 at the time. But,
brilliant.
So he said, "And it'll be £5 a night in your hand." And I went, "Wow, £5 a night. Good God, I've won the pools here, And at the time, I was just sort of finishing school, and I was starting to train as an accountant.
Yeah,
that was the mindset then going through. Okay. So through the day, I would be like at college, doing this, doing that, all that type of thing. And at night, I would be in the nightclubs on the doors.
Brilliant.
And it was an incredible time, but it was just an adventure. because I wasn't a streetwise kid, I know.
Yeah.
So in the first 6 months at this particular nightclub where there'd been murders and everything, all the sort of tough guys in Newcastle came in, and I just filled them all in. Because I didn't
As
know
you do.
You didn't care. You didn't know.
I didn't know that I shouldn't do that. So to me, it was just like the school playground. So when they came in and they were, a bit off
Unruly
with people.
They got a clip.
Well, nice to start with, and then I thought, what's going on here?
They got a yellow card first, Steve, did they?
Oh, they got a yellow card.
You got a yellow card.
They got a warning first, George. Then it was the yellow card, and then it was the red card. And
then it was the.
I think they missed more than 3 games after that.
I'm sure they did. Listen, speaking of games, I suppose your entry into sport began by running the local sides, didn't it? Something that you were very good at and succeeded well at.
Yeah. Well, I played football all my life, and I was at Newcastle when I was a kid. I mean, the first club I was associated with was Hull City, believe it or not. And I was about 13, 14. And then I was at Newcastle for quite a while. But it didn't kind of make it through as a player, I remember getting told, as a lot of players used to at that time, you're not going to make it here, but we can get you a contract maybe with Darlington or Hartlepool, which was no disrespect to Darlington and Hartlepool, because two great teams and clubs and all that type of thing. But it was a bit of a blow because I thought I was the next George Best. so I went down different route, and I had started coaching a lot then. So I was coaching youth football, but I was also coaching the bars and Sunday morning football teams and everything.
Amazing.
So it was like, in all seriousness, it was like my life really. So start doing, and all the fitness stuff had kind of just come in. So right there at the start, and ended up being the national chairman for Pathway for the YMCA Health and Fitness Initiative and all that type of thing, So
fantastic.
It was, and I think I had maybe about 40 classes a week all over the Northeast. So it would start off from, I would coach the football team and maybe the rugby team or whatever. And then their girlfriends and wives wanted to come along. And I said I would coach them. And it was great crack. And actually, I'm sharing this with you, but their wives and girlfriends were a lot easier on the eye than what they were. So I thought,
I'd like to think so, Blackie.
You've not been up the Northeast for a while.
Hey, I'd like to think so, mate. Yeah.
I knew.
It went sort of went like that, Geordie. And it built up, and then I ended off, the different teams that you remember, like Bedlington Terriers and all this type of thing, And we went, and I was sort of quite innovative, even then, creative and innovative. And I would sort of go all over the world. So I was the only person who would go around the world to America and everywhere to sports science and have a look at things.
Fascinating.
From the United Kingdom, I would be the only one there, And then I'd be voicing my opinions on things. And eventually they said to me, well, actually, could you sit in and take some of the break-off sessions? And I said, yeah. And then they said, well, actually, we'll pay for you to come over and you can be one of the people who deliver. And I thought, well, this is great, really.
I said, I've got to get back. I'm on the playground tonight.
Unfortunately, that had long gone.
Listen, Steve, it's absolutely fascinating. What a journey it is. We're going to come back to you, Kev. It's been a big week for you. Back on, not just on our screens, but you've been back on Question of Sport. Got that downloaded, so no spoilers for the crowd.
New format.
Same great fun.
Listen, it's still good fun, but you're going to get people who don't like the format because it's a change.
It's change. People don't like change.
A lot of people don't like change, Pete. But it was really good fun.
Great stuff going to come to you. George, welcome back. Feels like I haven't seen my partner in crime for a while. How have you been?
Doing very good, thank you. Working hard. Kids are back at school.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Today's a great day. Today, after this, I'm going to watch the Spurs game, obviously, and we're going to another game. We've been invited to go to a box with a club that has committed to TFA and TFC.
Great.
And they have
awesome.
they have a local derby. So the boys and I, the 4 boys of the family, are going. So yeah, it's great.
Oh, fantastic! A bit of life, a bit of live football.
Brilliant.
I've got a question for you, George, because I remember when we did our Euros show, and you were with us daily, and it was a fantastic time during the summer. We covered some amazing games. I just wanted to touch on England before we get on to the rest of the show. You and I have questioned Mr. Southgate in the past. Where did you stand on the Poland game? Do you think he's getting unfair criticism, or should he have changed it?
Again, let's state the obvious. We love Gareth Southgate. He's a great human being. He's a great man. I think because he's such a wonderful man, and because of his misfortune of missing a penalty back in the day against Germany, he gets a kind of treatment. I don't understand against Poland. You're 1-0 up. You can visibly see that players are tiring, and we don't make any substitutions. And and the equaliser at the end, Phillips just wasn't on Lewandowski. And I don't hold it against him. The guy's knackered. He's exhausted, right? Yeah, so, I wonder about big game management. I wonder about that, frankly, Easy for me to say, but I see, against Italy in the final, we all had observations about maybe a couple of things that didn't happen. The way he chose the penalty takers.
Okay.
I just want to feel good that he's learning from it on the big games.
Not a defeat, but maybe a game that they should have looked of continuing that 100% record. So I can see where the disappointment lies. Neo's messaged in, Kev. This is a great one. Best comment so far. Kevin Campbell, when I was playing FIFA 2004 and 2006, you were the best player. There you go. There's a stat for you. You're the best player in FIFA.
I wouldn't even. I don't play it, so I don't even know what it.
I know we had this conversation before. When I first interviewed Kev.
It's a great accolade, Kev.
I'll take it, but hey, listen, I have no idea. I don't play these games.
Kevin, I used to play that game under your name.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, Blackie. I'll tell you what, Blackie, I'm flattered now. God.
Fantastic. Listen, Steve, you mentioned there about your spell, the YMCA in North Shields. How pivotal in your future was that? Because, I mean, you got the opportunity to experience such a wide range of sports and characters, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, I'm that type of character anyway, really. So I try to learn, even now at my decrepit old age. I keep trying to learn all the time. And every experience you have matters. It does matter. So YMCA was great for me because I was dealing with lots of people from lots of different sports and activities, but also with the public as well. Very much with the public. So it was good fun there. So I would be dealing with the footballers and the boxers and the rugby players and the tennis players and do you know what I mean? All the way through. And it was good. And I used to take the players down because I was coaching at Newcastle at the time as well. So I would take the players down to the YMCA and work with them afterwards. Kevin used to like me to take different players down,
Sure.
And
he had a very big community spirit, Steve, didn't he? As in open sessions for the trainings and visiting schools and centres.
Honestly, it was superb. And the lads were superb.
Yeah.
They were a great bunch, We had a great set. People talk about Man United and the 92 and all that type of thing. We had our version of that, really. With good friends of yours, like Lee Clark and whatnot, and Robbie Elliott and Alan Thompson, and all. They all came around at the same time. And they were fantastic kids.
Has Tomo been on to you, Steve? Have you seen he's doing a celebrity boxing next month?
No, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, he's
No.
fighting one of the boy band members out of Blue for charity. So Tomo's in Spain. He's in training apparently. I was texting him the other day, but it didn't look much like he was in training. So you might want to give him a shout and make sure he's doing what he's doing.
I think he might probably be training his arms.
Yes, he is indeed.
Slight movement there.
He is indeed.
Yes, he's always been dedicated.
Yeah, he has. Yeah, he's a great guy. But like you say,
great left foot as well, by the way, lads.
Oh yeah, a curly slipper. That's what he said. I remember we interviewed him. We talked about his curly slipper, and he said we asked him about his. I said, "Can you tell us that goal? What went through your mind, Celtic against Rangers?" And he, quick as a flash, said to me, "Which one?" Which was typical Tomo. You say about that time, and it leads nicely in. Part of the entertainers and an integral part of what Keegan and Terry McDermott were trying to do. And from all of the players that we've had on here as well, Steve, we've had Warren Barton, we've had Rob Lee, we've had them all on. They've all been on. And they all knew it was something special. And it just echoes what you said. That togetherness, there was belief, wasn't there?
Oh, yes, there was massive belief. There was great team cohesion. So everyone was together. They were together both on and off the field. So, I loved it because, I work closely one-to-one with people, working on their skills and their game intelligence and their fitness and all that type of thing. But also a little bit like a big brother in a way, to look after them outside of the football as well, if need be, to call on. But I was kind of always there for them all. So I would say to all the players, one of the mantras were, you can call me day or night. Whatever time you call, I'll never say, what you doing, call me at 3 o'clock in the morning or whatever. You'd be able to do that and I would be there for them. And it was, I think it's a little bit my racing daughter anyway. That's what my career's been around, really.
Sure.
But it was a fabulous place to be then. The training was magnificent.
Yeah.
You know why it was magnificent? Because it was transferable to the pitch, to the performance. The lads always had a ball at their feet. And they were the type of players that loved playing. They just loved playing. And we rewarded constantly all the time good play. We rewarded good play.
Certainly rewarded those in the stands. You brought a tear to my eye here, Steve. I'm going to have to move swiftly on before I get too emotional. Kev, back up to you. Looking at the big games this weekend, there's some fascinating fixtures. We'll ignore the one at Old Trafford for now, but I'm going to try and get through the whole show without mentioning that.
Why do we ignore that?
Because we're going to talk about Liverpool and Leeds first. Liverpool go to Leeds. It's a game. It's a game of great interest. It always pulls up massive memories. I saw today about Mark Viduka, who scored 4 in that fixture. He's working in his son's bar in Croatia currently. A great interview with Mark. It's a fixture that Leeds haven't beat Liverpool in for 20 years in the league. How do you see it panning out today? Apart from it being it's going to be a great game, obviously with the fans back in as well and being at Elland Road.
Yeah, the atmosphere is going to be electric. And what we do know is Liverpool are that team again, aren't they? They're that team that's going to be challenging up there. I'm not too sure what Van Dijk's going to be fit or whatever, but they are still a great team. And, 20 years is a long time. And I'll be honest with you, I don't see Leeds beating Liverpool today. I just don't. I think it's going to be tight.
I agree.
It's one of the great things, so lads, isn't it, about Leeds and Bielsa?
Yeah.
On any given day, there can be a match for anybody.
Yeah.
So you never quite know.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't agree with you more.
We can only say opinions, Steve, can't we?
Yeah.
We can only say our opinions. We know what Leeds... On the day, Leeds could blow them away. But I think Liverpool win this game. Although it's going to be a tough one.
If you're a betting man, I'm not a betting man, but if you were, you would say that obviously the favourites are Liverpool. And I think Liverpool are going to have one hell of a season again. Because there's a great stimulus there for them this year, isn't it? And some of the rivals signing massive players as well. That'll give them another push. Yeah. So they'll be looking at Man City and be looking at Man United and looking at Chelsea and, they'll be looking at that and saying, we're going to take our rightful place back at the top again. I mean, that's coming out of the camp there in Liverpool as well.
Yeah.
That's what you're hearing from the guys a bit,
Yeah, I mean, you could argue Liverpool have re-signed many players this year, given the number of injuries they had last year.
Yeah, George. Yeah.
So I think they're a very strong team, and I agree with Super Kev. I think Liverpool will do well against Leeds. Yeah,
Their stats, George, are incredible as well. Liverpool have won 7 of their last 8 away games. Neo's just texted in to say Liverpool aren't playing today. No, they're playing Sunday. They're the main game on Sunday. But we're looking at all of the big fixtures for the weekend, Neo. Mo Salah, as well as approaching the milestone of scoring 100 Premier League goals. So he's set to join an elite club. He's on 99. If Leeds fail to win today, it'll mark their longest losing streak under Bielsa as well.
Wow.
Okay,
Wow.
so I've got to go back to Steve and ask him, as a Geordie yourself, we mentioned the setup at Newcastle United. You alluded to it then, that the confidence just must have been soaring. The game times couldn't come quickly enough when the entertainers were training. I mean, I know from Lee that they just love to play football, and you said that the training was replicated in what they did on the pitch on game day.
Yeah, totally. We just loved having the ball, didn't we? We just played and played and played. And cliched, I know, but probably everybody's second favourite team at the time in the country, but with the way we played the game, you know. And I remember one day at training, we had 13,000 at training, which is astonishing, isn't it? And that was over at Durham.
Yeah, I remember at Maiden Castle, wasn't it?
I mean, it was incredible. No, but people couldn't believe it. But went out there, and the lads, once they got into training, they forgot everybody was watching. It probably stimulated them just that little bit more. But some of the skills were magnificent, and we took that into the games each week. Yeah. You know, so it was actually a fun place to be, but that didn't take away from the professionalism at all. We got the job done. You know, everything was right, and it was cutting edge type of thing. Yeah.
It was some enormous characters as well. Speaking of enormous characters, George, I wanted to put your business in football hat on for this one, because we all know. I texted Kev this morning and said, "Is Ronaldo back at Man United? I haven't seen anything in the press." So we know Ronaldo's back. But we know what he can bring on the pitch. But already from a marketing brand perspective, it's a masterstroke, because I was reading this morning, he's already outstripped Messi with sales of shirts. Yeah. So as a business, with a business hat on, George, and football, what else does he bring to that club?
Well, firstly, he brings more to the English Premier League. First observation. Yeah. It's not that the Premier League needs more eyeballs, but just in case it did, it's getting more eyeballs now. Secondly, it brings even more attention, focus, and high energy to Manchester United, right?
Yeah.
The economics, however much they're paying him, they're going to get back in the sales of the shirts. It's a win-win-win for the club, for Ronaldo, for the English Premier League. It's just a wonderful thing. I was surprised he came back to the English Premier League. I'm delighted he has. I hope he doesn't play against Spurs or indeed Newcastle, but I think he's turning up today, right?
That's nailed on. All the script writers have sharpened their pencils. From a footballing perspective, Kev, someone who's played at the highest level yourself, he must give a massive lift to his teammates as well, knowing that you've got CR7 around you.
Well, here's the thing, you see, Pete. When you re-sign somebody of his stature, remember he left Manchester United a young man.
Yes.
Done everything he could in the Premier League with Manchester United. Went away to Real Madrid and reinvented himself at Real Madrid. He moved it. He started off wide and then he came into the centre. Broke record scoring goals. Incredible. The amounts of goals he scored has been crazy as a striker. He then moves and goes to Italy, Juventus, and he continues doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And if there's one real problem at Manchester United, they haven't got that killer. I know Cavani's a great player, but they need that killer. They need someone who's going to make a difference in in the big games when the lights are at the brightest.
Yeah.
They need somebody to step up. And they've got great young players in Greenwood and Rashford and all these guys. But who's going to be the daddy? Who's the daddy? Now they've just signed him. Ronaldo is the man. He won't be running no channels. Keep him the width for the box. And you know what else he will bring, Pete? When things are getting tight, they could put a cross into the box and he could out-jump everybody.
Yep.
That's the other thing, that he's got an incredible spring. So they've just signed one of the most incredible weapons that they could. Who knows the club, who will settle in straight away.
It's fascinating, Steve, when you look at Ronaldo. I'd like to sort of draw a few comparisons with a guy that you spent many a day with, but keeping themselves right, all in the same frame of mind. But does he bear resemblances to Johnny Wilkinson, a guy that you literally spent a lot of your time with?
Well, actually, I wrote something for a publication last week about that exact question that you've just asked there, to be fair. Yeah. And the great thing about Ronaldo was, when he was at Manchester United the first time, he was a bit of a show pony as well, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He would do 37 step overs and this, that and the other. And he was a great player. And he was, how old was he when he left, Kev? 23, 24? Something like that.
He was 24, 25.
Yeah, it was nothing really. Yeah. Now, when he changed and he went to Real Madrid, he became more professional. And what he did then, he's cut out all the show pony stuff.
Yeah.
And he scored goals. And he practiced scoring goals. And he just practiced scoring goals. Getting into great positions, reading the people who were playing with him, how they played the game. He would talk to the people he played with to tell them, I like to get the ball here, I like to be delivered there. If I've got this on, do that. And he would practice his movements in training to do that, and he scored goal after goal after goal. He went to Juventus and he done the same. No show pony stuff anymore. He just became the ultimate. Now, here's an interesting one. At first, he was in danger of becoming, obviously a great player, great skill and everything, but he was in danger of becoming a wider player, and some of the stuff, the show pony stuff, didn't help the team.
Right.
And then what he became was an expert in his position. And he's still becoming even more of an expert in his position, where he does what works, he practices what works. Now, this echoes with Johnny.
Right.
So, I still coach Johnny, and he's 42 now. And we started when he was like 16, 17. And what happened was he worked on his skills, fabulous skills. He worked on this, that, and the other, all skills that could apply to the game. And they went into a toolbox. But every game that was played, he would only use the tools that were necessary for that job.
Right.
And probably one of the best things to tell you is on the last game that he ever played in Paris, in the afternoon, he and I were together and we went through exactly the same routine as we always went through before games. A lot of people thought it's his last game, huge crowd in Paris. Yep. Let's just enjoy it and throw it about. And
have fun.
Not him.
No.
He did what he had to do to win the game for the team, which is astonishing, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I would say, in a football sense, probably Ronaldo would be the nearest person to Johnny on that score.
Fascinating, absolutely. I mean, two incredible professionals. Kev, we touched last week on the media pylon at Arsenal. And we were talking just before we went live about that. George is grinning down in the bottom corner there, look. But I just wanted to say, my opinion, and that will be reflected when we do the scores later on, the predictions, but it is a big game for Arsenal today, and I expect them to win. And I expect them to win well. There's been an awful lot of pressure, plus the 2-week international break wouldn't have helped. They'll be itching to get back at it today, won't they?
Pete, I'll say this. You say it probably didn't help. I think it did help.
Okay.
I think it's helped immensely because the problem was you've got players out with COVID, you've got players out injured. Gives them 2 weeks to get these players back. They had a behind closed doors game that you can get minutes into players' legs, etc. So now, with all the signings that they've made, with all the injured players that have been injured, now the team's going to start to take shape. This now is going to be Arteta's team.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've seen what happened in the previous weeks,
Sure.
where players who really, shouldn't even be at the club, if I'm honest with you, have had to play. And the leopard don't change his spots. They haven't been good enough before, and they're still not good enough. So now we're going to start seeing the Arteta's Arsenal, and they have to deliver. That's the name of the game.
Yeah, and
George.
listen, today, Partey is back, Gabriel is back. These are big, really good players. Listen, I'm a Spurs fan, and we all know that, but I am still shocked how quickly people judge without really taking the time to understand and digest the facts. Arsenal had 9 players out, and most of them are big players for us. Partey is an unbelievable player. Gabriel is a great defender. They haven't had them all season. So let's slow down with the reaction, give them some time. Like Super Kev says, I do think, as much as I don't want it to be the case, I do think Arsenal will trounce Norwich today, and things will start to improve, unfortunately.
Can I just say I couldn't agree with that more. If you're missing your big players, they're called your big players for a reason.
Sure.
When you're picking teams and you're writing your team sheet out and you see them and you've practiced. Now, when Arsenal get all their A team out, and you're suggesting we're going back to that maybe today, starting to come together, they've got some good players. They play some great football. Arsenal will be up there definitely in the top 8. I mean, there's no doubt about that. And they might push on a little bit more because it's early in the season. But I think that I couldn't agree with you more, George. People have jumped straight in.
Yeah.
And they haven't taken into consideration the injuries and everything else. In fact, when those things are said, sometimes people say, oh, that's an excuse. Well, actually, as we know, running football clubs and teams and everything else, it does make a difference.
Sure.
If Kevin's our star striker and he's out, and we're having to put somebody else in, no matter how nice a lad he is, he's not Kevin. So, it will make a difference. If it doesn't make a difference, we've been lucky.
Yeah.
So, and you can't be lucky game by game. So I really think Arsenal will come through today.
The one thing I would say that I do find disappointing is that although Spurs and Arsenal are arch rivals, the fan base is very similar. They lack patience. They're quick to judge. Like we said, Arsenal had some massive players out. That has to have a consequence.
I think that's a trait all over, George, in any football club. But it's apparent that, you look at your own club and impatience is always a key. Funnily enough, we had a fantastic guest on last night. I was interviewing Stuart Baxter, who's just back at Kaiser Chiefs in Africa, a massive club there. They've won nothing for 7 years. And when he was there previously, I think he won the double 4 times. And Stuart's back there. And I asked him last night, I said, how long have you got? What's the honeymoon? He said, about a month. He said, if I don't start getting results, he says, the fans start chirping. He said, this is what it is. So you need characters. A fascinating interview last night, and big thanks to him. George, I wanted to stay with big characters because your team Spurs are flying high at the other end. Manager of the month for Nuno, but also galvanised Dele Alli, who was a great player, and he's looked like the missing cog in that middle for Spurs so far this season. Early doors.
Yeah, it's early doors. I would say you have to recognise Nuno. He's very calm. He's very collected. He clearly places a lot of focus on getting everybody on the same page, getting a rhythm, make sure everybody fights for each other as a genuine team, and doesn't divide or say negative things about individual players, unlike Jose.
Previous.
So full credit to Dele Alli playing a slightly different role.
Lost your microphone there, George.
Is that better?
That's better. Yeah, I think it was someone was trying to deal with you for criticising Jose.
Yeah, I know. But I will say, Dele Alli, I think the game before last, he covered more ground than the other player on the pitch.
Yeah.
So he's rejuvenated. Spurs are feeling good about themselves. Today's going to be a tough game, believe me. Plus, with a bunch of injuries, it seems, from the international break, that'll be a tough game. But yeah, Dele Alli's rejuvenated. The place is a happier place. The squad is a happier squad. Happier squads don't guarantee success, but unhappy squads guarantee failure. So
they do.
Let's see how that goes.
Nice little Arsenal element in there with Patrick Vieira, head of Palace, coming back. No doubt he'll get a warm welcome. Listen, Steve, I wanted to say, just had a text in from our mutual friend, so it brings me nicely in. Lee Clark sends his best to you. You spent some time with Nash at Huddersfield as well, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, when Lee went for the interview for the job, I went with him, and we started it there. And actually, Lee was fantastic there. He's a great talent. He's a great talent. He was a good footballer. He had a great touch and everything else. And fortunately, his son, young Bobby's inherited that.
Big time.
Cool, hasn't he?
Yeah.
But at the same time, Lee's got a great football brain. He had a great football brain when he played, and he's a very, very good coach, by the way.
Yeah.
So I think you saw Lee's potential as a coach during his time at Huddersfield.
Right.
And if you remember, he beat Brian Clough's record for the century at Huddersfield. 43 games unbeaten in League One, which is what you call astonishing.
Yeah.
Because in League One, there aren't teams like in the Premier League where that team's got a budget of £10 and the other's got 50 pence.
Yeah.
So the talent is very even throughout the whole of the league. So you've got, specifically in League One, in League Two, it's very like that. So when teams do well, they tend to do well because the coaching's good and the management's good and they bring the whole thing together. And Lee did that absolutely brilliantly. He's such a fabulous lad, and he's a lad that I think can offer our professional game in this country at the highest level enormous amounts. I really believe that with all my heart. I've never stopped believing that.
Yeah.
Maybe the fact that he went to Sudan or whatever for the time being, he can come back, and when he comes back, he can come back fresh and go back into the marketplace fresh.
I know a couple of clubs.
What I'm going to say here is no disrespect to him at all, because I couldn't love him anymore. But maybe some of the decisions he's made and the clubs he's went to after that great start weren't the best decisions.
Sure.
Now, I think I can say that because I see he's like a little brother to us. But it takes nothing away, and it shouldn't colour people's minds about what he's got to offer the game, because it's fantastic.
An awful lot to offer the game. Kev, it's that time where we're going to ask you, there's been so much football news, so it's a baller of the week. Who's your footballing hero on or off the pitch from the last 7 days?
Well, look, Pete, I think there's been a lot of games being played, obviously. There's been 3 internationals at times. But anyone who scores a hat-trick, Pete, to pull their national side out of it, it's got to get it. Yep. So I've got to give it to Gareth Bale. I thought it was brilliant for Wales.
Yeah,
got his hat trick. Unfortunately, they drew the next game. But the fact of the matter is, when they were under serious pressure, and I was winning, Pete, the scores, he comes up with a hat trick and does me. So fair play to him.
Yeah. I remember. Yeah, you were ahead because you were the only one to take that result. Yeah. George, have you got a baller for us, a hero of the week?
Yeah. No doubt in my mind, no doubt. The result of the week was Scotland's victory against Austria. I was so happy. My wife was asleep, the kids were asleep. I think I woke them up. I was jumping up and down. Hanley in the middle of the defence was a mountain. He was a mountain. I'm so happy, so excited for Scotland. Hands down, Hanley, baller of the week for me.
Grant Hanley had a great time, a short spell at Newcastle, but he was well loved by the fans. Mr. Gets stuck in, no nonsense. Yeah. If the ball was there, Steve, it would just be get it out. None of this playing out from the back business.
It was a nightmare today.
Steve, have you managed to pick someone out for us, like a hero, a baller of the week from this last 7 days?
Well, I agree with the two lads. They spring to mind. You know, the Scotland's great result, and obviously Gareth for Wales, which is fantastic. I don't know. I would like to just change it ever so slightly, and say go back to what you were saying about Spurs. Now, when I was at Newcastle, I interviewed a lad called Ian Cathro for the job at Newcastle. And he was absolutely superb. He was head and shoulders above anybody else that we interviewed there. And he's got a fabulous story that if you can get him off, he's quite quiet, so he probably wouldn't. But if you can find the story out sometime, how he developed, it's astonishing. So I think both him and Nuno together do astonishing things at Spurs.
Brilliant.
And honestly, Spurs are so lucky to have that group now. They really are.
I remember we were Newcastle. Everyone was waxing lyrical about him.
Oh yeah, well, Ian's got a great football brain. That's his chosen subject, and he loves it. And he'll talk to you all day and all night about it. And he'll also listen. He listens.
Fantastic.
You know,
great stuff.
The stuff he's learned, he doesn't try to browbeat anybody.
Right.
You know, he chats to them, listens to what they say, and comes up with. Honestly, I think he'll do a great job there. So I would kind of put those two guys
together.
Actually, with the start that they've had, I'd like to put those two guys, Nuno and Ian, as ballers of the week.
Great stuff. Davy Gallagher's been on from Wickham, former drinking pal of mine from the... did you ever get up to Wickham, Blackie? The Bay Horse and the Bridle Path?
Yes.
Davy Gallagher was always in there. He says, there's a pretty good chance that Steve's chucked me out of a few bars in the tune in his time. I wouldn't disagree with that, Davy, knowing you. Also, our very own...
Davy, if I did, I'm sorry.
Ryan's on as well. He wants to quick check in. Massive thanks to Super Kev for his wedding video message this morning. Ryan, all the best.
Yeah, he's getting married.
Yeah, good luck.
Good
Ryan.
Blue love. Come on, Ryan, you know it.
Congratulations, Ryan.
Ryan, always remember something borrowed, something blue. Something borrowed, something blue. So put your Everton top on. Great stuff. Okay, it's that time of the week where we've had such a great show, and then it all goes pear-shaped because it's time for predictions. Now, listen, let's get this right, Kev, just so we can get it out of the way. An Everton fan, Jace Edwards, massive respect to him.
Who never wins.
He never wins, but he absolutely trounced us all last weekend during international. He smashed it. 6 points, one off Barry's best ever of 7, which still stands, by the way. So well done, Jace, to you. It's been a long time coming, so hopefully you'll celebrate it well.
And here's the funny thing, Pete. Here's the funny thing. He wins in the international, but never in the Premier League. I like that.
Yeah, he's saving you, isn't he?
He's for a higher.
He's won the most difficult one because we had Big Dave Besant on last week, and he was not too chuffed that his first go at the predictions had to be international weekend. He really let us know about that. Okay, so as we always do, we're going to go guests first. Steve, Crystal Palace Spurs, what's the score going to be today?
Crystal Palace against Spurs. I have it here in my crystal ball. Crystal Palace 1. Spurs 3.
Okay. Super Kev, what you got for us?
I've got Crystal Palace 1, Spurs 2. I've got.
Okay. George?
I've got 2-1.
I've got, you're going to be shocked, I've got a 1-1 draw. I've just got a feeling.
Wow. Oh,
listen,
well,
no sun,
right
no sun, no Bergwijn, no Sanchez. I've just seen the team while I was talking.
Okay.
Very weak bench. I think it's 1-1. Hope I'm wrong. I hope Super Kev and Steve are correct.
Okay. We've got 1, 2, 3. We've got 4 of the boys in today. So we've got Danny Kwang, who is he's the partner of this section now for DK Hot Sauce. By the way, Kev, I know that you put out on Facebook that you're dying, so we're going to get you some samples, definitely.
Got to try it. Yeah,
Danny's. Let's make this clear. Danny can't win. It's his own product, so he's just in it for the fun. So
No,
Danny
it's for
Kwang's
fun,
in. Jamie O'Brien's in, big Everton fan. Lee Cosgrove, who I've got to give a very special mention to today. He's running a Great North Run tomorrow. Literally a year ago, he couldn't run 5K. He's done that couch to 5K. And tomorrow, him, Martin, and wives Mandy Cosgrove and Mandy Craig are running the Great North Run. Fair play to them. They're off out in the Toon this afternoon to watch Newcastle against Manchester United. Big Man United fan is Lee. So
My 5 grandkids have just done it this morning.
brilliant.
Yeah, great. North Road.
Absolutely brilliant. So good luck to them. Lee's in. He's got a 1-1 draw as well, George. He's gone the same as you. I've gone 2-0 to Spurs, Kev. Danny's gone 3-1 to Spurs. Jamie O'Brien, big Everton fan, great lad, Jamie, has gone 1-0 to Spurs. Lee, as I said, 1-1 draw. And Jace Edwards has gone 2-1 to Spurs. Okay, back down to Blackie. It's Arsenal-Norwich.
Arsenal-Norwich. I think Arsenal will win 3-1.
3-1. Okay. Super Kev.
I've got 2-0.
You've got 2-0. George?
Yeah.
I've got 3-0 to Arsenal.
Okay. I've gone for one more. I've gone 4-0 to the Arsenal. Danny Kwang's gone 0-0. Jamie's gone 2-1. Lee Cosgrove's gone 3-1 to Arsenal. And Jace has got 2-0 to the Arsenal. Okay. This is the bit where it gets upsetting for me and Blackie. Man United against Newcastle at Old Trafford. All of the best.
Right. Well, I've given this a lot of thought, and I've tried to put all emotions out of the way. And I'm coming up with Manchester United 0, Newcastle 7.
I love it, Blackie. I love it. I love it.
Because, by the way, some people may think that I've got emotionally involved in that decision. I've let emotions take over. But Kevin, you know better than that. You know better than that.
I do.
Yeah,
I love it.
This is absolutely straight down the line. There'll be 5 penalties and 2 goals from Joe Linton.
Amazing. I don't think we get better than. I mean, we could just end the show here. I think
That's brilliant, Blackie. That's brilliant.
That's done. Super Kev.
No,
follow that.
I've got to admit, I am not on the same path as Blackie. I've got to say that. I've gone for a resounding victory, 4-0. Pete.
Okay.
4-0 Manchester United.
Yeah,
I'll be
George.
all right.
Yeah. I should have
I'll be
known
okay, Kev. I'll be okay.
I just should know that Ole said that Ronaldo will be taking both penalties today. Anyway,
For Newcastle.
I think Man U wins 4-1.
Okay. You might have seen that on Twitter this morning. He said there was some dispute between Bruno and Ronaldo of who, if they got a penalty, who would take one. I replied and said, they play nice. They'll get one each. That's at Old Trafford after all. I've gone 1-1. 90% possession to Manchester United. The first minute goal. Not a 1-1. They'll go in the lead, Blackie, and then Joe Linton will score in the 90th minute, and we'll share the spoil. So I've gone 1-1.
Come on, you Geordies.
Danny Kwang.
Come on.
Danny Kwang's gone 4-1 to Man United. Jamie says 3-1. Sorry, Pete, in brackets. No problem, Jamie. Lee Cosgrove's gone 5-0 to Man United, and Jason has taken 4-0 to Man United. Okay, that's that out dealt with.
Ye of little faith.
Exactly. Chelsea against Villa, Steve. It's a great game. Chelsea going well. Two sides that play football. What you got for us?
Yeah, I think Chelsea are going to have a great season.
Yeah.
You know? And Villa have got a great manager, got a great team there, behind the scenes as well as what they've got on the pitch. I'm probably still going to go a home win.
Okay.
And I think I'll go with a home win, and I think I'll go 1-0.
1-0 to Chelsea. Kev?
I've got 2-0 Chelsea.
2-0 to Chelsea.
Yeah.
George?
Chelsea will win the Premier League. I feel like throwing up. It's true, in my opinion. And I think they win 3-0 today.
Okay, not far off.
TT's doing a great job.
He is indeed. I've gone 3-1
yeah.
to Chelsea. I think Villa will score, but I think Chelsea have got too much for them. They're fast. Their rhythm is incredible. Danny's gone 2-0 to Chelsea. So is Jamie O'Brien. Lee's taken a 1-1 draw. And Jace Edwards has taken 3-0 to Chelsea, trying to defend his crown from last week. Okay, so the game of the weekend, Sunday, 4:30 kickoff in the UK, 7:30 here in the UAE. Last game of our predictions for this weekend. Leeds Liverpool, Blackie, what you got for us? Cracking game.
I've got Liverpool winning that 3-2.
3-2 goals galore. Let's hope that's right. Kev?
Yeah, I'm going for 3-1 Liverpool.
3-1 to Liverpool. George?
Closer game than many people anticipate. I've gone 2-1 for Liverpool.
2-1. Okay. I've gone 2-0 to Liverpool. I can't see Leeds breaching it today. You never know. They'll probably score 3 now. Danny Kwang's gone 2-1 to Liverpool. Jamie O'Brien's got 1-1. Lee's got 1-1. And Jason Edwards has got 3-1. Fantastic. What a show.
3-1 for Liverpool, yeah?
Yes, 3-1 for Liverpool. Been absolutely amazing, Steve, having you with us. I'm going to leave the last word to you. My question is this, as a motivator, is you stress that relationships are critical in the sporting world. So what's your ultimate advice to someone just starting their journey in the world of sport?
If they're just starting their journey in the world of sport and they want to get noticed straight away, work on your skills. Just work on your skills over and over again. Try to have a healthy lifestyle and try to show willing. And on the training pitch, as well as games you play, stand out. Light up the training pitch day by day. So if you can do that and transfer it to the game, you've got one hell of a chance of it.
Sound advice from the expert. I'm away to do a 5K run, George. What's your plans?
5K walk could be tough, let alone 5K run. So my plans, like I say, we're going to watch a Spurs game, then we're going
and then off to the derby.
A derby live game, a TFC, TFA local club that's going to do very well. Made a lot of signings, and tomorrow I've actually got a fair amount of work, and I've got a family visit. I've got to squeeze that in somehow.
Well, you need a bigger diary. Super Kev, what we got for you this weekend?
I've got a few interviews to do in between the football.
For the Evening Chronicle.
Well, I seem to come up on the Evening Chronicle quite often. They're probably going to put me in. Kev thinks we're going to get stuff 4-0. So, well, I'm surviving, Pete. I'm surviving.
Could I just, before we close, make an observation? I know we're partial because we love Super Kev, but he is miles ahead of most of his fellow pundits whenever I watch him on Sky. I mean,
sure.
I know I'm biased. We love Kev. I know he's a gooner, but I love him. But it's true. I mean, it's just consistent, makes sense. You hear some of the others and you think, what are they watching, right?
You know how that works, George? No, do you know how that works, George? Because you've got to say what you see and tell the truth. That's what you can never fail with that.
Great stuff.
To the players,
cheers.
To follow on from what you've said there. If it's not right, don't do it. If it's not true, don't say it. Yeah. And if you can follow those two things from a great Italian player of the past, Marcus Aurelius. He played quite a few centuries ago, but apparently he was really good. He pulled all the strings, but great.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Listen, all the advice there, checks in the post to Sir Steve of Black, Sir Kev of Campbell, and of course our own George TFA. That's it for another week. It's been an absolute blast. Whoever you're playing this weekend, whoever your team is, good luck. By Jove, I know we'll need it. We'll see you next week on Hollywood Balls.